name is Jacqueline Fuentes. I'm a third year Human Bio and Society major at UCLA. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And my hometown is I'm from South Central Los Angeles, so South LA. Um, and yeah, thank you for having me here. I'll let my other two roommates introduce themselves.
I can go next. So my name is Karen. Um, damn, Jackie, you had a whole format. Hold on. My name is Karen. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a nursing major at UCLA. And my hometown I'm from Compton. So, yeah. Was there anything I missed? No? Okay, cool. On to you, Shu-Fan.
Hi everyone, I'm Shu-Fan. I'm a third year human biology and society major. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and my hometown is like West Covina area.
Cool. So could the three of you talk a little bit more about why you decided to go into the majors that you're currently working on, and kind of talk about like what did you expect, and then what's it like to be a major at that specific major, medical major that you're in at UCLA?
I can go. So I just wanted to ask, is everyone here a senior or a junior, or what are the majority of your
Type your
like
grades in the chat. We're all mixed. We're all mixed.
Oh, you're all mixed. Oh, okay, okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Okay. So first of all, let's see. I started wanting to be, I guess, like in the medical field just because like I did a couple of programs in high school that had to do with like teaching like high school students about sexual health. And so like that exposed me to like the medical field, I guess, like early on. And then I did a program at my high school where I would go to a clinic or a hospital and like shadow the nurses and the doctors. And I like since there I like saw that the nurses did most of the work or like had like the most interaction. No shade at Jackie and Shufan. Just like had the most interaction with like patients and like did all that. And so like I it was at a gyneco oh my god, I can't even speak. It was at an OBGYN department. So it had to do with like women's reproductive health and like pregnant women. And so like I saw that I really, really liked working with women, and it was in Watts, like in South Central, and like a lot of the women who were there were like immigrant or black or brown. So it was just I liked the aspect of helping other people, translating for other people, just like being there for someone, um, especially in such a vulnerable position as a doctor's office in general. But then this felt like even more vulnerable because it was an OBGYN clinic. So yeah, that's what kind of pushed me to become to want to be a nursing major. And then correct me if I'm wrong, but the other question was like how it's like right now. Is that right?
Yeah, what is it like to be a nursing major or a medical student at UCLA?
Oh, right. Okay, okay. So I'm not gonna lie, it's really, really hard. There's definitely times where you're gonna doubt yourself and you're gonna be like, why am I here? Like, there's definitely that sense of like imposter syndrome, especially in the beginning. But the thing that I keep telling myself, or like my friends keep telling me, is just that you kind of just have to push through it. Like, um, you're going to get to where you want to be eventually, and it's obviously going to be like a lot of hard work, but I feel like if you have like a good support system and you know, people who you lean on, it's definitely easier. It's not going to be entirely easy, like for it's not easy for anyone, but definitely I guess like try to make friends and like establish really good relationships, because like they will help you like study, or just like, you know, someone who you can have a mental breakdown with or just like cry with or whatever. But yeah, it's definitely hard, but I feel like it's definitely rewarding. Like for me specifically, like we're gonna start going into like the hospital and like clinicals, and like just the prospect of like working with patients, I guess, like kind of gets me going. I'm like, okay, I just have to like get through this midterm, or like I have to do this final, or I have to do this assignment, and like I will one day be doing like what it is that I truly want to be doing. So it's like a lot of like hurdles to get to what it is that you want to be doing. But like you guys can do it. I believe in you guys.
Oh my God, I can't even go against Karen right now, but let's see. For the pre-med route, so there isn't a specific major in order to go into medical school. So there isn't like a pre-med major or like a major that you need to choose in order to get into med school. So coming into UCLA, I came in undecided because yes, you could go into like going into getting like a biology or like any like science major, but you could also major in like in a social science major, humanities. So like in poli sci or history or sociology, psychology. So I was trying to like see my first quarter, see like what route I wanted to go into. Um, for medical school, you just have to take certain classes. So like, you have certain requirements, and most of those classes usually fulfill the requirements for a life science major. So like biochemistry, like all those majors. So people do tend to go into like a science major, but you could also do like a non-science major. So going to UCLA, I took a poli sci class my first quarter, a linguistics class, and a geography class because I wanted to see like, oh, do I want to like be do the social science and then just add on the STEM requirements for medical school. And then I saw that those classes weren't for me. So I would highly suggest like if y'all don't know what major you want to go into, take different classes in different departments to see like what major interests you. And yeah, so going towards my second year, I saw that I wanted to stick with like a science major. So I was in between biology, human biology and society. They're two different majors because biology focuses on more like ecology and like plants and stuff. And human bio and society is more on like society intertwined with biology. And Chiffon's gonna take over why, what's HBS, and because we're both HBS, we're both human bio and society. So she's gonna talk about a little bit more about the major.
Yeah, so like Jackie said, there's no major that you have to take in order to apply to medical school. There's just required classes. So I don't know how it is for other colleges, but for the UCs, um, if it's like STEM classes, a lot of or like biology classes, a lot of them like have overlapping. Like the first and second year, you're going to be taking a lot of classes that are like similar to other majors that are under the like medical like biology realm. Like there's like molecular cell developmental biology as a major. There's like MIMG, all these like acronyms. So the prereqs are mostly the same. So it's the upper divisions of each class. So the classes you're going to be taking in your third and fourth year that you want to be looking at to see like what major you want to go into, because in the first and second years you're going to be taking a lot of the same classes, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, and then for the major itself, human biology and society, I chose it because I thought it was really interesting because I'm also very interested in like activism and like social issues, and I wanted a major that could combine my two interests of like going into the medical field and being able to delve deeper on these issues. And so that's what HBS is. um, there's also people who want to join the major because the upper divisions are like a little easier than regular like biology like STEM courses, so their GPA will be boosted for medical school. But I think the most people who like join the major are also interested in like the social activism part. But for the most part, they seem to be very accommodating with classes and stuff. So if you're like in this major, you won't have like a very hard time like finding classes. There's usually like a surplus left over. But yeah, it's pretty chill in the major.
Just to add on, for that specific major, me and Chiffon had to apply to get into the major. So there's certain majors that you have to apply into to actually be the major, and there's other majors that you just go in straight. You just declare it and you're into the major. So like for biology, for example, you just declare it and you're in the major. For us, we had to write 2 essays and have like certain already classes taken before applying. So when you go into like college, whichever college you choose, I would see if there's like an application process for a certain major and see what kind of requirements that they are looking for in order for you to be accepted into the major as well. Oh, also another thing, sorry, I forgot. So for, as Shu-Fan mentioned, our operatives are a little bit, like I would say, easier just because it's not really like heavy science based. But for medical school, they look at your overall GPA, but also your science GPA. So they look at your biology, your chemistry, your math, and your physics all together, and they calculate that GPA. So if by the end of your prereq, so by the end of your second year or like thirdish year, and you see that you didn't do so well in your like prereqs, I would highly suggest for you to take a major that's all STEM courses, like your upper division courses, so it could count towards your science GPA, so you could boost it up. But if you feel comfortable after taking all your prereqs and you have if you have a good like a science GPA and you're comfortable with it, I would say that you could look into other majors. But that's all. That's, I just wanted to do that disclaimer because there's some majors that there's a psychobio major at UCLA, and all the operatives are psych classes. So none of those classes would count towards your science GPA. So that's something else that you would have to take into consideration when looking into majors and seeing how your GPA has been affected as well.
What is the environment and culture for medical students like you three like when you get to college?
I'm not gonna lie. Well, I haven't really experienced this, but I've heard that there's a lot of like, it's kind of toxic, the culture. So there's a lot of cutthroat, because everyone's trying to do like, trying to be the best at everything and trying to like get the better grades in all the classes. And that's the culture that kind of medical, like going into medical school, the pre-med life is like already into play into like all these colleges because you're trying to be the best at everything. But in terms of my experience, I'm part of a program called the Academic Advancement Program, which is short for AAP. And there I was able to meet with a bunch of other students in my classes that didn't have like the same mindset. Their mindset was to like help each other out and try to get the best grades that we can together. It wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna bring you down. Like, I'm not gonna share my notes with you. I don't want to study with you. And that program is specifically for like low income, diverse students. So that's where I was able to find more students that looked like me. Because once you go into UCLA and you go into these like classes, it's like 400, 300 students. And you look around, you're like, wow, I don't see a lot of people that look like me. So that's where I was able to find students that looked like me and that had the same mindset that I had, that I just wanted to work together and like and bring people up and just do the best that we can. I don't know if y'all want to add on to any of that experience.
Yeah, I would say that it's similar to what Jackie said, but there's also like an internalized aspect of it that you have to reckon with at some point, because once you go into college, if you, especially if you go to like a bigger one, the people that you interact with on a daily basis like widens by like a lot more than what you would interact with in high school. So there's also more competition, and sometimes like you'll find yourself comparing yourself to other people like a lot, and you really have to keep yourself like in check and just kind of like check in with yourself on like how you're feeling, because um especially like within like the medical field, when competition comes into play. Oh, that's a good question. But especially when competition comes into play, a lot of the pressures that you're feeling might not even come from external sources, because no one's ever going to be like, oh, haha, like I got a better grade than you. Sometimes it'll be like, oh, like you found out like a friend did better on you, like on a test, and you're feeling really down about yourself. And yeah, so definitely like comparison is a really big thing that can bring people down. And so it's just important to like acknowledge like possible like differences that you and your friend have had. Maybe they've had tutoring or whatever it is, and just be sure to like kind of go at your own pace.
I think you girls noticed, but we did receive a question from the chat. Um, Vivian asked, how has COVID impacted your college experience so far?
Oh, I could go. Because I am a nursing major, I was like supposed, well, I am. I'm supposed to like go into like the hospital this year as a third year and actually work with patients and stuff. And like this quarter, I was supposed to do like lab stuff, like work with mannequins and, learn on like the basics, like doing blood pressure injections and stuff like that. And they did accommodate us. Like I can still go to in-person lab and I can still go to clinical, but there is just like so many more precautions to take. And I don't want to say we're learning less, but we're definitely like practicing less, and we are um like, I don't know, like one of the things that we were supposed to do is like have like this kind of like flu vaccine fair kind of thing. Like we just sit outside of like the area, like a specific area at UCLA, and like students come and like we get to like practice like our injection skills on the students. And usually like around 3,000 students, I think, come to get flu shots, and that's like how we practice. And this year we weren't able to do that. And so like sometimes I do feel like our like practice time before we get into the actual hospital has like been reduced. And so I feel like personally it is like a little bit more pressure just because like we're going to go into like a clinical setting with less practice than like previous years, but like not like I'm going to kill anyone. I'm just saying like it would be nice. It would be nice to like practice more, or just like I don't know, have that option. But I feel like out of all the majors, especially UCLA, like I know like other nursing majors in other schools, they aren't having in-person classes. And so I feel like very grateful that I get to go to lab and like I get to use like medical tools and stuff. um so that's how it has impacted me. But yeah, you guys can talk about it more.
Yeah, so Karen's like a special case because she's like the 1% that actually goes onto campus, is the only one allowed to go onto campus. For the rest of us, we're all like taking online classes, so everything's online. I feel like in terms of like our pre-med experience, the thing that has been affected the most would be like our community service, like joining our clubs and doing the work that our clubs are used to doing. So going to like health fairs or hosting health fairs, going to like clinics, shadowing. Like I was doing a program at UCLA called the UCLA Nursing Program, where I would go and shadow help nurses and shadow nurses, as well as talk with patients and do one-on-one companionship. But that program was like completely halted because of COVID. So we haven't been at the hospital since March. And for my other orgs, we've been adapting to online virtual stuff. So an org that me and Shu-Fan are actually in, it's called the Mobile Clinic Project at UCLA, where we cater towards the unhoused population. So well, in the regular school year, we have like a truck that's like a mobile clinic that has like a bunch of supplies, like medical supplies, and we go to a site in West Hollywood where we offer services, medical services, social services to the homeless population. And for that, we had to transfer everything virtually. So now we do telehealth referrals, and we just like we're on the screen, and the courts, like the main people, go to the actual clinic and they put the computers there and they ask people if they need referrals to like medical, mental health, law, housing, like any type of referrals. And we've been seeing less clients because of COVID. So some caseworkers like myself haven't even interacted with a client yet. But that's some way that our programs have been halted. Another org that I'm part of, it's called Latinos and Chicanos in Community Health, Community Medicine. And they usually do health fairs in Tecate, Mexico. And now that's like completely halted. We're not doing those health fairs anymore. So we're gaining like, I guess, less experience in what you want to do in your community outreach. But just to share you guys like a little picture, my other club was able to like come up with something called Westwood Outreach. So we go to Westwood and we try to pass out like hygiene kits, blankets, sweaters, anything that people might need. So this is like something that we're still like trying to continue to be a part of like community and be able to help in person. I don't know if Shu-Fan wants to add on to that.
Um, yeah, I think what both of them said are pretty accurate. I guess like the biggest thing that a lot of people are facing is just like professors who aren't being very considerate of the circumstances that we're being in. So a lot of people I know are stuck at home with kind of like 3 or 4 other siblings and not great Wi-Fi, and sometimes professors will require things like attendance or give like 35-minute midterms, and just like not be very accommodating. So I think that's like a really big problem that a lot of students, not just pre-med students, are running into. But yeah, just a lot of academic things, internet connections, COVID equity, things like that. Added on to what Jackie said about not being able to do club activities as usual.
We did get another question from the chat. Michelle asks, other than taking major classes, are there any outside programs and things medical students should be doing?
I think for med school, they want someone who's well-rounded. So you obviously do want to get some clinical hours in. So whether you get that from like volunteering or a club, that's good to like have on your resume. But also just like get, you know, into things that you're interested in and hopefully like get a leadership position in one of those. They really like leadership positions where like you're teaching someone, because that kind of shows that you have leadership and you also have like the capacity to be like a leader. Um, what else? One good thing that you can do is like medical internships. So medical scribe is a really good like thing that you can do. That usually you can do that your junior year summer or even sophomore year summer. Yeah, and it just depends on like when you want to apply and get into med school, because some people want to take a gap year between undergraduate and med school. So the timeline kind of changes based on when you want to do that. I'm sure there's like some templates that you can look up online, and some resources, but that's all I can think of for now.
In terms of like other programs, Shu-Fan touched on this, but not everything you do has to be focused towards like the medical field. I'm part of an org called Latinas Gang Latinas, where we go to elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools, and we mentor students on the college life and college experience and like how to get into college. For our high school students, we focus on like the college application process, and we help them out with applying to college, which colleges would be a good fit for them, the what's called financial aid as well. So it not everything you do has to be focused towards the medical field. I would say that once you get into college and you're trying out different orgs, try to look for something that you're like really passionate about, because that's something that they want to see that you have when you're talking about these activities, like in an interview or like through your personal statements. They want to see your passion for it, and they want to see that you've been dedicated for it. You don't have to like be in like 10 different clubs. You could pick like 3 or 4 or less and just be in that club consistently. That's what they want to see, that you've been in that club consistently, and also you've gained like some leadership experience. So like building your way up, or but yeah, so in terms of clubs, you need clinical experience for sure. Also, something that you might want to focus on is your letters of rec. So building that relationship with your professors, you're required to send in 2 letters of rec from us science professors and 1 from a humanities professor. So going to office hours and asking them questions is a good way to like build a relationship with them, but also like to get your like if you're struggling, like to get your answers there, and like make sure to always follow up with them like throughout the, because you might take a class like what in your freshman year, but you're not going to be applying to med school until like your third year, fourth year. So they see like a bunch of students throughout that whole timeline. So I would say like, oh, just like send them an email to remind them about you, to make sure that they know who you and are willing to do that letter of rec once you're ready to apply. I don't know if Karen wants to add on.
I don't know if I can add on just because like my experience was so different, but like I have noticed like being around so many pre-med people that it's basically like applying to college again in college. Like that's how I've pictured it. So like you have to like join these clubs and like get your letters of rec and like do well on your classes in order to apply again. So I mean I think like you guys should pay attention more to what Jackie and Shu-Fan said, just because like they're going that route. Um, but personally, I think I could only speak into like getting into nursing school. And like my experience was similar, just but like in high school, like I had to do all of my like um application process in high school to get into nursing. Um, but yeah, that's basically how it translates. Yeah.
Did you want to go ahead and answer the questions in the chat, or did you want to continue to go off of my questions?
We can answer the chat questions. Yeah.
Okay. So Andrea asks, what is something you'd wish someone told you in high school?
Andrea, is this like medical related or just like overall college experience?
Medical.
Medical. I would say that I know everyone's always focused on like doctor. That's the only thing you have to do. That's the only career that there is. But there's so many different aspects of like the medical field. There's so many careers. Like the example, nursing, that's something like if you want to be like, if you find out like it's like your senior year that you want to do nursing, it's going to be pretty hard for you to like automatically apply to nursing straight from high school, just because you have to do like all this stuff beforehand, like you have to do clinical hours and everything beforehand. So like for me, when I was looking into like different careers, nursing was one of the ones that popped up, but I knew that wasn't going to be a possibility for me to do like in undergrad because I was already, it was too late for me to do. So I would say that to look into different like careers, it doesn't always just have to be like a doctor. There's also physician assistant, so PA school, physical therapy. There's so many careers in the health field that I didn't look into, and I wish I would have done more research on.
Okay, so like for what Jackie was saying about like how there's so many different careers, I think it's also important to note that like there is no like specific timeline for you to choose a career, I think. Because like in the nursing program, there's like people who have who went to UCLA and they had like a different major, like let's say like sociology or something. And then like their last like 2 years they realized, oh, I wanted to be a nursing major. So like UCLA has a program where you graduate like from 4 years and you can like enter into a master's program, and then like after 2 years you can be a nurse. And so like I feel like a lot of, like me included, I really thought that like in order to get into the medical field, you had to like do undergrad, then do med school, and then you could be like a doctor. But there's like so many different like routes that you can take. I know people take gap years, people like do other things. So there is like no just like one straight route. Um, there are definitely like Jackie said, like careers to do as well. So yeah, it's like don't feel pressured, I guess, to have everything figured out right now, because a lot of people honestly do not have everything figured out right now.
Yeah, what these two girls said, I agree. Yeah, just keep, I think one big thing is like keep an open mind. more than I think like every single person I've ever met or who's like in my circle, like 80% of them have either switched majors or considered switching majors at one point. And a lot of stuff changes and your worldview changes a lot when you're in college. So just be prepared for that and don't feel too bad if you like switch out of a medical major or like a STEM major or something. There's some pretentious people who will make you feel bad for having a humanities major, but don't listen to them. So yeah.
I think you girls kind of touched on this, but Vivian asks, what is one thing you did to find the right major? And then Lizzie is asking, how is it for you during the application process for UC?
I kind of mentioned this before. For my to find my major, I went in undeclared and I just took different classes in different departments. My first year, so like my first quarter, and that also translates to like your general education requirements. Like they make you take classes in different departments, so that could also be like you're like looking for a major and you also fulfill a requirement there. Um, when I looked in more into the majors, I Googled like the majors like UCLA, the HBS major, and then I was focusing on the upper division classes. And I was reading like, oh, what is this class about? And then I just read like, that's how I realized that I didn't want to be like a biology major because I noticed that all the upper division classes are all focused on like ecology, plants, and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, that's not for me. So then I looked into other majors. I saw like the upper division classes, and then I saw that human bio and society was something that interests me, like their classes and what they all had to offer in terms of the curriculum. So that's one thing that I did. I'm pretty sure it's pretty similar to what Karen and Shu-Fan did, but if you guys have something else to add on, no, Karen, what about? Well, Karen came in as a nursing major.
Oh, someone asked like what are upper division classes, and like they're basically like classes that you take that are more focused like specifically on what you want to do. So like Jackie and Shufan are HBS majors, so they will only take classes for HBS majors, and usually like other majors can't take those classes because you have to have like prereqs done already in order to do those classes. But like for me to find my major, I feel like personally I like was in a lot of clubs and did like a lot of programs in high school focused like on the medical field or just in random things to see what I wanted to do. Like in high school I did like a internship at a law firm which has nothing to do with like medicine, but like I still did it just so I can like figure out if I wanted to be your lawyer or not, even though it was like a long shot. So if you guys have like opportunities to do internships or do like summer programs, I know it's like hard right now, and there might not be any, they might be canceled or they might just be in different formats. I have like actually I have a couple. I don't know if you guys like want me to like put them in, I can put them in the chat, like links to the websites that like a couple of my friends did or that I did. Um, if you guys want to look into them. And I don't know if they've changed like their format, but like I would say still look into them. Still apply if they seem in if they interest you guys. So I can like go ahead and link them down below. Just
Yeah, go ahead and put them in the chat.
okay.
And then to answer the how was it for like us during the application process for the UCs? Um, for me, in terms of like picking which colleges I wanted to apply to, I looked into like the different majors they offered. Um, I know it was pretty different now, but I went to go visit the college campuses to see. Like I visited San Diego, and all of this was through my college prep program. Like they offer different workshops on college and different field trips and stuff. There's one program that I would highly suggest for y'all to look into. It's called Thrive. Uh, yeah, it's called Thrive. You could just put Thrive Scholars, I guess. Thrive Scholars. And that's specifically for juniors right now. Only juniors can apply. So if you're like a ninth grade or 10th grade, you could look into the program once you become a junior. And this program helped me with my college applications. So like they reviewed my essays. They kind of like guided me on how to apply to college. In terms of like writing my personal statements for the UCs, you had to pick 4, but there's like 8 prompts that you could choose from. And for each prompt, like I took each prompt, put it in a Google Doc, and I wrote like bullet points on what I could like potentially talk about for each prompt. And based on like what I was able to come up with, I saw that there was like 4 strong ones that I had more like things I could say on it. So that's how I chose which prompts I was gonna choose. And then I would highly suggest to ask your teachers, like any teacher that you're like comfortable with or you have like a close connection with, to see if they could um, edit your essays or like look over them, or anyone that you feel like that's you feel comfortable sharing your stories with. That way you could have like a second pair of eyes looking over your essays. I don't know if Karen or Shu-Fan wants to add more on their experience of applying. Because I know nursing has like a secondary application. Oh, that's also something you should look into. But
Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry. Yeah. So I basically did the same. Like I started my writing my apps, I think like summer of junior year, end of junior year, I think. So that by the I know it's like I don't know if you guys did that, but like I know it's really now you guys are about to like apply, some of you guys, but definitely start early. I would say like have them done before your senior year, just so that like your first semester you guys can like be looking them over, just like giving them to someone else to edit, or like worrying about the letters of rec and other stuff, and just the application in general. So I would say like for me, I guess the most lengthy part was the essays, just because like I knew, like everyone kept telling me that like the essays are what's going to get you in, and so like I spent so much time on my essays. And then for like nursing and like other majors, I think like film or like just other majors in general, depending on the school, you will have to like do a supplemental application, sometimes a supplemental interview. It just depends. Like for I wanted to go into nursing, so I applied to like UC Irvine and UPenn. And for UPenn, I had to like submit like an extra like essay, and then I had to go in for an interview. So I would say like definitely look into that. And I guess like plan accordingly. Like I'm not saying like I was like perfect, like in line with what I want, like my time schedule. Like I feel like I can't even remember like my first semester of high school, just because like everything was a blur. And yeah, I don't know what the question was. I like kept on rambling. I'm so sorry, but yeah, if Siobhan wants to add anything.
I think you guys got it.
Okay, cool. The next question is, how do you balance life as a medical student with your regular social life?
I think it's pretty doable, honestly. I think the biggest problem I had with balancing it was like once I got into a lab, um, I wanted to like prove to my graduate student that like I was very capable and I was willing to work hard. So whenever like she asked like, "Oh, like do you want to like stay and finish this?" Even if like I didn't want to, I would say yes. And it's like nothing like on her part that she did, but I just like felt like I had to prove myself. So I didn't really set boundaries. And so sometimes I would stay at the lab like as late as like 8, which isn't late, I know, for like some people, but like I'm like a grandma at heart. So like I want to be home and like doing homework by like 5. So it was really late for me. And so by the time I got home, I just didn't have really energy for anything else. So I had to like learn to start saying like no to things, or just like set boundaries like in terms of how much time I want to spend at lab or like for extracurriculars. But besides that, it's like pretty easy to like balance the two. I don't really have tips besides that.
I can say that it's freaking hard. Oh my God. Like sometimes, like I'm gonna be honest, it feels like you have to sacrifice like your social life for like to do well in school. But like I have like a group of very good friends, and like we have fun together studying. Like, I feel like the most that we do together is study, but, like, somehow that is, like, fun. I don't know. It's not, like, entirely fun. Like, I'd much rather, like, go out and do something, but, like, if you're gonna study, like, do it with someone that, I guess, first of all, you get your stuff done with. Second of all, like, you have fun with, I guess. So, I don't know. I feel like the majority of my social life has just revolved around, like, sometimes catching up with people, and then, like, most of the time, like, studying with people just because, like, my time is so restricted that I kinda have to, like, put both of them together.
Yeah, to add on to that, I um, kind of find it difficult to balance my social life and my academic life. Um, I feel like I sacrifice like going to like back home or going back to like do like family parties or any like gatherings or like going out with friends because I needed to like study and also because the quarter system is like so short. It's like 10 weeks. So you have like a midterm starting week 3 or week 4 and then for most science classes you have 2 midterms. So like you get like a week break and then you have like another midterm the next week. So that's why I feel like I always have to kind of like say no to more like having fun things in terms of like going back, like going to parties or going out with my friends or something like that. Um, but I will add on to like with Karen. So like if you have friends that are going the same route as you, they're gonna be studying too. So you're gonna be hanging out with them more, and you're just gonna be like you take breaks and you're just like laughing about different things and stuff. Um, I will add on that. Oh, I lost my train of thought. I was gonna say something. Uh, I lost my train of thought, y'all. But yeah, I feel like also don't overwork yourself. Like don't add on too many things if you're not ready for it. I feel like a lot of especially a lot of pre-meds, they feel like they have to be involved in like so many other things, but then they don't have time to like focus on their self and their mental health and their like physical. So always prioritize self-care. That's just one thing that I've like always like try to push for. Prioritize your self-care, like take breaks. Sometimes I feel like I feel guilty like watching a Netflix show because I'd be like, oh, I could have been doing something else. I could have been doing like, but that's like a break that you need to take because that's also bad too. Like thinking that you're being unproductive when you're just trying to like do something that you like to do. And then also, oh, I wanted to add on that because I came from like a low income high school, we didn't have like I didn't have the same resources as someone that was like coming from like a good high school, like in a privileged area. So basically I had to go into the like I came in with the mindset that I had to work 10 times like harder than them to catch up on the material. So that's something else that you have to take into consideration that we all come from like different backgrounds. So if you see like someone else is just like not like studying as hard as you, that's because well we all came from different experiences, so you do whatever is best for you and whatever like you have to do in order to like learn the material, or if you feel prepared enough. Like don't compare yourself to other people depending on like your studying skills or like how long you have to study. So it's always focus on you. I think Chiffon also touched upon this a little bit, that it's really hard not to compare yourself with others, but always focus on what you're doing and what's best for you. I don't think we have any other questions in the chat, but actually, you could ask another question.
Yeah, I will. So did you partake in any research opportunities or any internships that gave you more experience as a medical student?
Um, I think me and Jackie we're both part of labs. There's different kinds of lab. There's like wet lab versus like dry lab, and I think hers is mostly dry. Yeah. So hers is like a dry lab. So she studies like child development, specifically like in the context of COVID. Yeah. And then I'm studying. Oh my God, it's been so long since I've been in lab. But I'm studying neurons. Basically, I'm studying like neural regeneration in fish, some kind of fish. Everything's like escaping me at the moment, but basically, I do a lot of genetic altering and then cutting neurons to see like how they regrow. And I'm focusing more on a specific kind of gene. But basically, any research is like good for medical school, and it really helps if you can get published before you graduate. It's like kind of hard because um, a lot of work has to go into a paper, and you have to like contribute a lot for your name to even be on it. So you probably have to start in your sophomore year. That's when people mostly start anyways. They start their sophomore year and they work all the way till their senior year in a lab. And we've had like a professor like say to us before that it's like good to like jump around labs, like just like get a taste of everything. Um, and I don't think I would recommend that because they like to see that you can like really stick with something, and the more that you stay with something, the more likely you are to get published. So I would recommend that instead. So kind of like look at, what kind of like research you're interested in. Like, do you like doing like data analysis more? Then you can go into like computational biology and stuff like that. If you like looking at neurons and like imaging and stuff, you can go into like anything like MCDB related, like molecular biology related, and really try to find something that you're very interested in, because if you're going to be doing it for 3 years, you really don't want to be bored with it, because it's going to affect both your work ethic and the quality of work that you turn out. But I think most medical schools will want at least 2 to 3 years of research under your belt. And also, if you have like a pretty good relationship with your PI, they're usually like a professor as well. So they're also someone that you can get a letter of rec from, or you can get a letter of rec from your grad student as well. So yeah, having a lab just like offers a few different like perks, and is a really can be a really satisfying like thing that you do outside of academics. Um, but definitely make sure to like be like 100% sure that you like the lab. That being said, you can also like leave the lab, but just be sure to be very professional when you're leaving it, and really thank the PI for your opportunity to like work with them.
Yeah, so for my like research experience, I chose I knew from the beginning that I didn't want to be in a lab, like having to do like pipetting and like just being in a lab in general. I knew that I wanted to do more like community research. So I my research right now is like it's at Harvard UCLA, and it's at a clinic, a PEDS clinic, and I get to do like it's more like surveys. So like getting surveys from parents, and like the surveys ask about like the parents' financial well-being, their health well-being, the child's development. So like through those surveys, we get to learn more about like the population that they're serving, and how to like better cater that population. So medical schools, they don't care what type of research you're doing. They just want to see that you're doing some type of research, and that you're passionate about that research, that you're able to talk about the research that you're doing, and that you're not just doing it just to like have it on your resume, or that because medical schools want to see you do it. They want to see that passion for you wanting to do it. So I would see, and then that's the difference between like a wet lab and a dry lab. So the dry lab, you don't really stay in like a lab per se. You go more into like the community, and you like do research in the community. And then in the wet lab, you do more like what Shu-Fan mentioned before in her lab. And then in order to like, so most of the PIs was just like the principal, like the primary investigator. They're faculty members. So I would say that like once you get to your university, look into the different departments, and then you would have to like kind of do more research on them to see like if you're interested in what the research they're doing, and like read upon their research, read any like publications that they've already published, and see if that would like some is that something that you're interested in, and then you would have to email them and see if they're accepting any undergrads during the time that you're emailing them. So that's how you get into research. There's also research programs that would like pair you up with a PI. There's also at UCLA the biomedical research minor, and those like if you want to go into that minor, they specifically pair you up with the PI. But most students they have to like do like cold emailing, so like they email the PI and they ask them, oh, like I'm really interested in your research. They talk about a little bit why you're interested in the research, and then they ask like, oh, can I like meet with you to talk about it? And then from there you go on and ask if you could be part of the research team. um, I don't know if anyone's in like heard of it or interested in MD, PhD. So you do a dual degree. So that's doing medical school and also a graduate program. So the PhD program. And for that, as Shu-Fan mentioned, they do like they're heavily on like focus on the research. So you would have to get into like a research lab like your second year, and they want to see publications for that type of degree. But I feel like it's less lenient on the. I mean, it's less required for medical school, but more required if you'd want to do like the PhD route with the medical school. Yeah, does anyone have any questions on that question on research? No, we're good.
Yeah, not at the moment. Oh, Michelle asks, what year would we start doing labs and research?
Do you want to take that? Yeah.
So technically you can start any year. You can possibly start even your fourth year. I've seen people do it, but if generally speaking, people get involved their second year because first year people are still getting adjusted, and they honestly sometimes like don't really know what kind of research they're really interested in, and that's totally fine. And so yeah, usually you would get involved beginning of second year or just anytime in second year or third year. Those are the most common times to get involved. And also something I wanted to mention is like for the cold emailing, if you are going to do that, the kind of like format you want to keep to is being like interested in like the subject title will be like interested in like being in undergraduate researcher interested in like your lab, yada yada yada, and then it would be something like, hi, I'm like this year this major, um, and I'm interested in your lab, and you kind of like talk about like why you're interested in their lab, kind of like mention something from one of their research papers if possible, and you want to usually like attach something like a resume or like a CV, um, or like a cover letter, just something that like shows that you kind of like prepared for this email. Usually, like with that format, you'll get a email back sooner because PIs are kind of like notorious for not replying. So using this formula, you might be more likely to get some sort of response back. Like the first time I cold emailed in my first year, like I only got a response back from like two people, and then like every time I emailed them, I would email them immediately back, and they would take like maybe a week or two to like get back to me. So just like be patient and don't feel bad if they say no. Sometimes they just really like don't have space in their labs, so don't be afraid of them saying no. Like that's the worst that could happen.
Also, if you don't end up doing research in your undergrad, um, you could also do your research like during your gap years if you choose not to like apply to medical school right after college. Um, I know a lot of like I've heard different stories of different like pre-med students that during their gap years they apply to be like a research assistant or like a research coordinator, and that's how they gain their research experience. So it doesn't it honestly, it depends on you and your timeline and how, when do you want to apply and when do you feel ready to apply. And there's also different programs like post-bac programs that help with gaining more research experience, or if you need help in boosting your GPA, or if you need help with getting clinical experiences. Those are different programs that you can look into if you don't end up doing research during your undergrad as well.
Any other questions, guys? If not, I'll go ahead and ask my other question. How has COVID shaped your perspective on the medical field, and how would you feel if you were in the position that many hospital workers, doctors, and nurses face daily?
Um, I can say that it has definitely made me realize or just emphasized that the medical field is hard. I don't know if I want to put it exactly like that, but it is hard. You're definitely sacrificing a lot of yourself to care for people. And like I know that like a lot of my professors were in COVID units and they had to like quarantine before even teaching us. And like I can see the toll that it had on them a bit. Um, they definitely have to like balance a lot of like I guess like their family life, their social life and their work and like because of COVID, a lot of them had to like quarantine away from their family to be able to even work. Um and so I think like I guess it made me like more grateful and it kind of like it made me realize like what I'm getting into, which isn't a bad thing. It's just like, you know, you realizing that this field is it is to take care of people, and in order to take care of people, sometimes you have to, like, sacrifice not yourself, I don't wanna put it like that, like, obviously, like, you have to do, like, self-care, and, like, before you can even help other people, you kinda have to help yourself. So, it's like it goes without saying that you have to take care of yourself before taking care of another person. Um, but I don't know, if I was in their position, um I don't know how I would cope. I don't know. I don't know if I'm, like, gonna go into that position because like, I'm gonna go into the hospital in, like, February, and, we're obviously not gonna be put in, like, COVID units, but I guess I'm, like, definitely gonna see, like, the day-to-day of how it actually looks, inside of a hospital because, like, a lot of us, even if we go to a hospital, we can't, like, go in to, like, visit people just because things have changed so much. So, it'll be, like, interesting to just see how things have drastically changed in a hospital and how the work has been affected or just how like patient care has been affected or just like supplies like I know for us like in lab like we couldn't even get gloves because the like Ronald Reagan is has like a shortage of gloves and that's Ronald Reagan and they have like a lot of money, they have a lot of donations, so like I can't just imagine like a smaller hospital with like so many COVID cases or just so many people. um so I don't know, it just made me realize that we don't like as much as we think we like prioritize like just like healthcare workers or just like healthcare in general, like we don't sadly. Like there's still like a lot of work to go to give like just basic supplies to healthcare workers. Like even imagine like just like regular patients. A lot of them don't have like healthcare, don't have insurance, or just like they don't have like adequate insurance that like covers everything. So I don't know. It just kind of made me realize what I'm getting myself into, but like in a good way, I guess. Like prepare me to like actually be more empathetic or just like help people. I know. I don't know if you guys want to go or like if anyone else has any questions. Oh,
Yeah, I think the thing that it didn't surprise me, but it still disappointed me, with how COVID has affected how I see the medical field, is that there's still a lot of um, ableism and discrimination within uh, medical field professionals. There's a lot of people saying like, "Oh, it only affects like old people or it only affects disabled people," like that makes it any less serious. And going into the medical field, I think it's good to kind of keep this in mind, both for yourself and for other people, and to be cognizant of the way that how we view other people and the value of their lives. Because definitely, like, COVID has not impacted everyone the same. There have been communities that have been more affected by COVID than others. Um, and a lot of medical professionals don't seem to recognize that. So that's something that I feel like I want to change, or at least help change, when I become a physician or whatever it is that I end up becoming.
Jackie, did you want to add to that?
I just wanted to say that honestly, with COVID and what's happening, like I highly like I respect anyone in the medical field, like doctors, physician, nurses, um, and anyone in the medical field, honestly, because they're risking their lives for someone they don't even know. Like, and then just to see that that people are not like following guidelines, like not wanting to wear a mask, not wanting to like sacrifice their time to like being away from their family just because I don't know. But it's just that I have a huge like appreciation for them now, and yeah, like I feel like people are not taking COVID really serious, and the healthcare professionals are like risking their lives to treat COVID patients and like putting their lives at risk for us. And it's really disheartening to see how people don't even believe in like science, like our own president. Oh, I'm not gonna get political, but it's just really disheartening to see how people are not following guidelines just to like keep your health, just keep yourself healthy and not contract the virus. So it really changed how I thought the medical like people were appreciative of like doctors and stuff, but now I'm seeing like there's I'm seeing the truth now through this like time in COVID. Um, so that's how it's shaped my perspective on the medical field. And honestly, it hasn't changed the fact that I still want to be a doctor and still want to help those in need and going back to my community and helping low income communities, people that don't have accessible healthcare. So those are, yeah, that's all I have to say on that.
Does anybody have any other questions before we wrap up this workshop? You can type them in the chat or you can unmute yourself.